City Fashion Consulting, and today I just created this little Excel sheet to kind of go over like the base costing of an item and why things cost what they do and kind of how to get to a wholesale price. And there's some videos out there that kind of talk about like your costs, but I think they don't include like a lot of these things to really think about, or they just double it and assume it covers all these costs. Like take your cost and then double or triple it, and that's your wholesale, and then your wholesale should cover these things. But I just like really kind of broke it out to just make sure everything is covered, because the last thing you want to do when you create a business is not be making a profit. Like believe I was taught in college, like the purpose of a business is to make a profit, and unless you're a nonprofit, but if you're gonna run your own business, then why are you doing it? You really want A, flexibility, B, you want to pay yourself well for taking on the risk and all the things. So like you want to make sure you're getting paid well. And I had a guy who wanted to order some product, and he was just like, threw out a number, and it was like so close to what the cost of just like one piece of the puzzle was. And in my mind, I was just like, I just don't think I'd be making money at the end of the day if I did that. And so I was like, I need to really break this down. And before that, I was really just creating these for myself. So I wasn't doing them to sell it yet, partially because of this. So, I was like, I really need to figure out all the expenses involved in this so I'm not losing money. Because if you're losing, not to make money is one thing, to be losing money is another thing. So really figuring out where cost goes, and just coming from a corporate background, where I was in one part of a business where I was just simply like, I was given the cost and I had no choice of the cost really, except for to hit a margin. So like, it's very limited pieces of data that I receive. But like now that I'm doing it on my own and can see the whole package of everything costs and what things I need and stuff. So I kind of talked about in a previous video on my LinkedIn page about just understanding the finances and taking this concept and applying it to multiple concepts. And anyways, so breaking it down, I've got 3 columns here: fixed versus variable, item versus total, cost category. So I fixed versus variable because certain things are just not going to change unless there's inflation. But for the most part, like a shipping bag's pretty much always going to be, unless these change or I change bags, it's not changing. But a variable cost would be like shipping. Like, are they doing rush shipping or economy shipping? Is the design a simple design or a complicated design? And like that design cost could vary. So variable versus fixed. And again, there's an art to this. I don't have everything defined here, but eventually as I do it more often, it would get more defined, and then I'd have more history to go off of to really say, yeah, this one's not varying much or this one is varying a lot. So then going into item versus total order. So for instance, shipping is probably the biggest one to that. If you order one shirt, if you're like a retail customer, a business to consumer, and you order one shirt, and we all know this. I think we all know this because we go online and we buy one shirt, but we typically buy more things because you get free shipping when you spend a certain amount. Well, this is like the same concept. So if somebody comes on my website and orders one shirt, it's going to cost them $10 in shipping. And the same thing for me. If I'm ordering one shirt from my supplier, then I have to pay, if I'm business to consumer, then I have to pay the shipping for that one shirt. So sometimes I can tag on multiple orders and, save on that. But when you have shirts coming from different vendors, it makes it difficult. So I really think your true cost is including that shipping per item. Like, to me, even though accounting people and stuff might disagree, and you could spread it between a multiple order, if you had a wholesale order, I would obviously do that. But like as a business to consumer, I believe the cost should include shipping. And I do know, and that comes out too if you were to break the cost like fixed and variable. Anyways, so I have it kind of like a total order cost or just like a item cost. So like the shipping bag, oh shoot. The shipping bag would be a item cost, unless again you're going to wholesale, but we're just talking one item here. So, and then cost categories, so like the product, logistics, labor, and then just cost of doing business, like which could be IT or whatever, but like software, design software, and then like machinery, like a label printer or like a press machine. So, and again, I'm not an accountant, so I don't have this broken out like an accountant would. I am a finance major. I did a lot of financial analysis, but it was more on the investment side and real estate. So, accounting is, I'm breaking it down like I want to look at it to kind of get a ballpark of what it truly costs. So, I know an accountant would do it differently, and I would love an accountant. So, if you would like to be my accountant, message me. But you'll see what I can afford on my budget once you see this. So, we'll see. Anyways, so shipping bag, 100 pieces, and the $15.15. So I'm not, 15 cents, 4 cents for a shipping label. Like those are so minimal, but then it's minimal, but right? Would you want to lose 20 cents per item? What if you had a $100,000 order? Then that adds up. So like really you have to account for it because you don't want to lose it, even though it's so simple, And then the ink, which I don't have in here, but I would add that too, even if it's a few pennies, because you don't want to be losing a few pennies when your orders get big. So, and really, you don't want to be losing anything. You should not be losing anything. Then the shirt cost. So, like a basic shirt, just blank shirt, is like $3 to $9. And I did an average of 6. And the more history I would have, I would get a better average of this. But the thing is, and I thought about if I use 9, my highest, then my real value customers are going to be like, why is this shirt this much? Like, for such a cheap shirt, So like the average really does matter. And then if I were to do, yeah, we'll just leave it at that. I explained it better in my first take. And then so shipping, like kind of talked about earlier, are they going to do they need it fast? Not, so that's going to vary. So right now I'm using an average, but I would say the 8 standard's probably going to be the case. But you don't want to be losing dollars and pennies here and there. So as much as you can be exact, but you don't want to overcharge either, because if I charge the highest, the fast, just to get my total cost, then the people who are wanting to do economy are paying for that, and I feel like it does show. So you really do need like an average, or it has to be like per item. And the thing about it is, I would love to do it per item, but like time savings of like having to do a bid per thing, it's difficult time-wise and just organization-wise. Decal cost. So this particular vendor can do both things. So I was able to put this into one cost and then again average it. And as the more history goes on, I'd be more comfortable with the average versus like the actual breaking it out. Decal shipping. So like this is like if I used a different vendor, then I would have to do this at another place and I would have to pay shipping twice because it's 2 different products to be assembled together from 2 different places. Think about like a artist who has a canvas and then the paints. They get the paints from one place and maybe the canvas from another place. So like maybe they could go to Art Explorer and get them, but maybe they like these special paints. So they have to go to a special art store to get these paints, and then they're having to pay 2 shippings. So this particular shirt cost is I'm able to do it in one. So it does help with cost savings, but then the downside to this one is like this one is not in state, so I can't go see it, and I like to see my designs before I create multiples of them. And then design costs. So again, this could be variable or it could be fixed. Most t-shirt places I think just have a fixed, if it sounds super complicated, it could be like double this. If it has to just be resized, like I don't know, like they just got it and they sent it in one size, but they want X size and I have to resize it. And then sometimes that sounds so simple, but like you have to make sure it's going to print right and not blurry and just different things. So like it still adds time and labor. And again, that's one thing. Like if you were to do 100 shirts from this, it's not that expensive. But one shirt, it is expensive. So And that's typically why there's minimums and stuff, because it doesn't make sense when you just order one shirt. And then this also, like, think about sample costs. This is essentially a sample cost, and that's why samples can be so expensive, because all the things that could be divided aren't being divided in a one item thing. And then these are all like legal, like just certain questions and stuff. And like I don't have a specific thing at the moment, but I like to like save money towards it. Advertising is both a labor, like I'm paying somebody to go in and set up the ad or whatever. And then the cost of doing business is more like, okay, you have to pay for advertising. So these are kind of more like saving money for those in the future. Then you have a salesperson who's going to call them, they're going to visit them, they're going to put a bid together, they're going to like understand exactly what they're looking for and handle the revisions. And typically a sales commission is minimum 10%. And then software and design website stuff. So like having to pay for a website and the design software, and then also like a label printer and like a press for the shirts if you're going to do it yourself or outsource it. So like saving money towards those things. And then you have like market fees if you're going to sell it wholesale. So that's going to be a cost. And then travel expenses, like say you're going to have somebody source the shirts or like go to the market. So like saving for that. So all this, I mean, there's like your true cost of the item, right? Which is like the shirt, the shipping, the design. And then these are kind of like not so much true costs, but they are costs of doing business. So typically people will take that cost and create something and then double or triple it, and then that's their wholesale. And that's why, because it's basically covering these things. But I think the thing is, when people are running businesses, they don't know what these things cost. They're just double or tripling it because that's what they were told to do. And they don't know what they're saving for, what this is, and like you've got to know it. So your wholesale cost, so that's why the cost of an item, because when you're paying for an item, you're not really running a business profitably if you're not accounting for all these other things. And the only way to pay for these other things is through the product. So wholesale costs, and then your retail, you have to think about what can whoever buys it wholesale for, what can they sell it for, and what is the consumer think. And then so that's costing from an entrepreneur, non-corporate, how I see it. I'm sure there's much more efficient ways to do it in corporate and who have been on the costing side or finance side, probably the finance side. But yeah.